Hey everybody, this is Brian with the Red Dirt Cryptids. We're going out today to Ark City, Kansas to do a little bit of an interview with a fellow and his family that had a roadside encounter, and later, about 6 months later after that, they actually were down at the river and they found some unusual tracks, barefoot tracks in the middle of the winter down by the river. So Mr. Doan's joining us today. We are going to go down there, check it out, and see what we can find. As always, we're always interested in potential eyewitnesses and even second and third hand encounters. If you know of any kind of cryptid activity, whether it be Sasquatch, dog, man, whatever you got, we'd even like to hear if you know about a chupacabra. Whatever you got, we're interested. So hit us up, let us know. And if you want your name kept quiet, we can do that. We believe in, we understand your need for privacy. So we're going to get out there and we're going to talk to this guy and find out what he knows.
Yeah, I haven't seen it from this side.
Is that from the flood? Well, it was at this point that Scott and his family took us down to the spot on the Arkansas River, just west of Ark City, Kansas, where back in 2014 they got to see the prints that were crossing the road. I think that's a deer.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
It's a really large one. Now, I'm sure that several years ago, this place looked a lot different as far as like the way the sand and everything was. But was there a different? Was it out here on this low area that was close to the water? Or?
About kind of like where that one is, because I know there was a little bit of space like this.
And where did the tracks appear to come from?
When I tracked it, it looked like to me it could have come across from the river from that side.
From the other side, huh?
But I don't know if, there could have been another place down here where they went out in the water.
Well, there's a lot of human food sources over there.
Yeah.
There's a high school, there's a middle school,
Right.
other things. How wide is the river here, Micah?
The end of the bridge over there is about 50 yards.
Mm-hmm. And where did they go? They just kind of went along the sandbar-ish and then back up in the woods somewhere?
Right. They come across from the river, and like the dry sand, kind of like this over here, you can kind of
Right. I saw that
see, not
picture
really
you sent me.
a print, but just like an outline of where something had stepped at. And then once it got over here into the wet sand, is where I got the pictures at.
Yeah. I've always been amazed that, even though like you see that sand underneath the water here,
Right.
footprints will stay there a good long time.
Right.
My brother came across some really good footprints up around the Canton Lake and the river that goes into the Canton Lake, the North Canadian.
Yeah.
And the tracks that were in the water were in better conditions than the tracks that were out of the water.
Wow.
Because it had rained or something. $40, $50.
Yeah, probably.
A little too cold to be walking around barefooted.
Yeah. Yep.
Well, just for a point of reference, Sierra, why don't you take your shoes off and walk out in the water for us, and let's get a gauge of how cold how unlikely it is that a human would want to do that. Yeah. I don't know that I'd want to.
Yeah, he probably already have his
My
shirt
oldest,
on.
we play disc golf a lot,
Uh-huh.
and
Flip-flop.
Avery, he's thrown his frisbees in the water a lot.
You gotta go get them.
He's been out there in it.
Look at this.
It
Look at this
doesn't matter.
donut that
Oh,
the
yeah.
guys in the Jeeps have done.
I I don't think you can see it anymore, but there was a truck that was buried out here in the river.
Somebody lost their off-road rig?
They well, it was just like probably a 94, 95.
Was it on this side or on that side?
It was on this side.
On this
Chevy Z71. And they
Lord.
come out here and they were goofing off in the sand and he got it stuck.
Just wasn't worth getting out,
He
huh?
couldn't get it back out, but then it rained, I guess, a lot that night. It was a lost cause by the time we got back.
Yeah, I've seen overnight, man. They'll just get buried.
Yeah, it was out there for the longest time. I'm sure it's still out there somewhere.
Mm-hmm. Well, I'll tell you what I think. You know, I spent some time looking at this area, you know, on the Google Maps and stuff. And, you know, there's patches all up and down this river, just like any other river, where, you know, you'll have like there's a bend, and then there's a big patch of woods right there on the bend. And, you know, that's really good habitat. That's really good cover. And my thoughts is, you know, maybe, just maybe, you know, they're coming across, they're coming into town. For those of you online here, just on the other side of that big berm there, that's Ark City, Kansas. And you know, there's grade schools there. There's you know, businesses, stuff like that, where they could slip in at night and get food out of trash cans, dumpsters, stuff like that. And you know, we, you know, us humans, we think, you know, oh, and I wouldn't eat out of no dumpster, but for them, that's free food that doesn't cost anything, and it is pretty.
Just right over that way, there's housing. I mean.
Oh yeah, they could run. And I was actually looking. There's a strip of trees, if you look at it, that runs clear over from up here, around, and up to where the high school is, and which is plenty of cover for them. Of course, you know, they see 10 times better than we do at night. So, but maybe what you caught was one coming back. You know, maybe one of them came back from his nightly trip, and he was walking across here. But I'll tell you something to think about. This bridge right here. It is possible that they may be crossing that bridge at night. I mean, it's an old abandoned bridge that's no longer being used by humans. They could be using it just so they don't have to get wet.
During this time of the year.
Especially when it's cold. So,
Because nobody'd be out here
yeah.
time. It'd be too cold.
But not that you're going to catch them with a trail camera. That's kind of that ain't going to happen. But my point is they might actually be using this as their way in or their way out, or any other old abandoned bridges that are around here, train bridges, stuff like that. After Scott got done showing us around and telling us about that particular track sighting, we loaded up in our vehicles and we headed a couple miles upstream to the north, where he showed us where him and his family had the nighttime Class A sighting. And we're north of Gouda Springs.
Gouda Springs. Yep.
So this is it.
Yep.
Okay.
It was in the fall.
It was in the fall?
Because there was a cornfield over there.
Okay.
That whole thing was all cornfield. So we were coming down the road south.
Headed south?
And there was a vehicle coming north.
Uh-huh.
And it had crossed the road going this way.
And do you think it was using this bridge or?
Well, I think this is just what we turned around at, because I remember there was this oil field road back here.
Okay.
And the field back here was empty.
Huh. Okay.
So it would have been back there a little ways, back down the road.
So it definitely crossed this little creek.
Right.
Interesting. And so you were headed this way.
Right.
You passed it. You slowed down. You turned around.
Yeah,
And
I pulled up in here and shined my lights off in this field.
hoping to get a
Just
glimpse
see
of
if
it.
I can see anything. Yeah.
Similar to what your truck is now.
Yeah. Even if it was just like a deer, you know, I would have seen the deer running through there with us.
You would have, yeah. Huh, but you didn't see anything?
Huh. But you know, the thing about it was when it was crossing the road, it was like one step and then like 2 steps, and it was like over the road.
Pretty quick, huh?
Yeah.
Huh.
Just
That's
kind of
interesting.
What I seen, you know, and it was pretty dark. It was probably 9:30.
Well, you also had a set of headlights in your eyes too,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah. But we came back the next day. But, we walked the creek bed all along here.
Was the field plowed? You know, you might have been able to find some tracks going across the field.
Yeah, I can't remember if it was or not over here.
If it was plowed, you'd have thought of it.
I remember the cornfield.
Yeah.
I remember that.
And so he was coming from this way,
right.
and he was headed back to the east.
Yeah, and evidently there may have been a couple of them because one crossed in front of us. And that other vehicle, and then so it was gone. And then that's when the car passed us, and I was out my window, you know, because I thought maybe they hit something.
Yeah.
And Avery, my oldest son, was in the front seat, and that's when he grabbed a hold of me and said, Dad, there's something else.
There's something else.
I flipped around and I was like, what did you see? And he said it was big and it was on 2 legs. I said, was it like a human or what? And he said, I don't know. You know,
it was dark.
I think more than anything, it was just kind of in shock. Like,
yeah.
You know, even when I talk to him about it now, I mean, like, you know, I told him what I was going to do, and he's just like, you know.
Well, it's kind of like what we talked about. The mind wants to take something and put it in a box.
Right.
And when it don't fit in the box, you know, and here he, you know, like Avery's, it's been 6 years since then.
Yeah.
And Avery probably still ain't got a nice, neat little box to put that in his head somewhere.
But we did find a bobcat skull.
Yeah.
On the creek, and then we found the deer run down on the waist. It looked like it had been there for a while because it was starting to blow it up. So.
Well, that's always fun. But yeah, this looks like it was a creek before it was a, you know, before the road was here.
Yeah.
It's awful straight though, but they might have had to make it that way. But so this was a cornfield back then. Did you get any idea what color it was? Did you say it was black or brown or? Too tough, yeah. Huh. Any idea how tall it was?
It's a pretty good size, I would say.
Well, most of them are not that much bigger than we are. It's only the older ones that get really, really big. Of course, who really knows the truth? It's not like it's not like there's a Sasquatch school where you can go and learn all this stuff. So the car that was coming at you,
right?
Okay, it saw it too, obviously, or at least you could tell by their actions.
Right.
And once you passed them, you tell me what you noticed they were doing.
Once I passed them, they slowed down quite a bit, and they just kept pushing on their brakes for quite a ways down the road, as far as I can see them.
You could tell that they saw something.
That
they wouldn't have been tapping their brakes if they'd seen a deer.
That's what I would think. Yeah. I would think the same thing. If it was just a deer, you would just kind of move on. If it was something that was out of the ordinary, you're just like, what in the world? You know?
They might have been arguing over whether or not to go back.
Right.
Billy, if you turn this car around, I am divorcing your ass. So that's really interesting, and their reactions are
right.
The fact that they were tapping their brake lights and not just, you know, going about their merry way kind of tells the tale that there was something out of the ordinary and they perceived it too. So here's a look at the other side of where the row of trees in the ditch is. You know, I can't help but think, Scott, that if a Sasquatch wanted to get away before it crossed that ridge line over there, I don't think you would have had time. If it would have been moving, you wouldn't have had time to come over here and shine your headlights on it.
Yeah, that would kind of make sense because it was.
I mean, it probably was 30 seconds it crossed between the time you saw them and the time you pulled in here and shined your lights, or more. Oh yeah, that's length of about 2 football fields. You know, and it depends on whether and if it was further back that way, it wouldn't have even taken less time. So, yeah. I don't know. That's pretty crazy. If he falls, I've got it on video.
You want some help?
Yeah, probably. There's nothing to grab up here.
What? You want help?
Well, you had a plan.
I thought you were a professional.
So Carson, are you a believer?
Yeah.
What do you think they are?
Real.
You think they're apes? Or you think they're people? Or you think they're aliens? What do you think?
I think they're a mix between apes and people.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Would you have a relationship with an ape?
Yeah. I would.
You mean romantic?
Oh, no. Oh, not.
We'll put this in the out. Well, sir, I definitely appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you very much.
It was information, and this is good.
It's good meeting you.
You too.
This is good, and what it does is hopefully, if we can get people to feel comfortable talking to us, and maybe after other people step forward and come out and say, I saw this here, and maybe that's the kind of courage that people. This is a little thing that somebody needs. There are so many people out here that think, when they think about Bigfoot in Kansas and Northwest Oklahoma, they're just like, that's the most ridiculous thing I ever heard of.
Yeah.
And it's not really. And maybe 100 years ago, all this was open prairies and plains and stuff, but the forests are taking over everywhere. I mean, Northwest Oklahoma has got a lot of woods.
Oh yeah.
And so does this place, obviously, and of course you get further east from here and it gets really, really woody,
Yeah.
But these areas that people seem to think that just because there's a Kansas title on it, no, that don't mean anything, Kansas is not a whole state full of open prairies where there's buffalo and, it's like, look at this. I mean, there's trees everywhere and old trees,
Yeah, I think it's pretty dense.
Yeah. Well, once we get over this, if we can slowly and steadily change the mindset of the people, maybe we'll have more people coming forward. So that'd be great.